How's everybody doing? You guys all hear me okay?
We can hear you. I'm doing good. How are you?
I am doing great. I'm going to make sure that, oh yeah, I guess if you got my screen, you'll probably be able to see me share the screen here in a second. So I got a question for you guys too. We're talking about open houses, and I'm glad to see Amber here. She might be able to add some tips on open houses. Good to see you.
You too. Sorry I haven't returned your phone call.
That's okay. I know you're probably busy. Are you still in your crazy transition mode, or you feel like
Yes.
yeah,
It's getting less crazy, so that's good.
yeah. You'll get it figured out.
Yes.
My business actually grew. So I was like the top agent at my Remax office many years ago and had to move like 24 hours overnight. It was like the get kicked out of the office thing. And my
Yeah.
business actually grew the year that I left because I was so on it. I mean, we were organized and scared and we did more business. So
Oh, that's good. That's a good sign.
So guys, for anybody who's tuning in, if you're who is doing open houses, I want to get a read just who is doing open houses or who wants to think about doing open houses, or are you doing them and what are you doing that's working, and what do we want to get out of this session today more than anything?
Well, I currently don't have any listings to hold open, so that's my biggest problem.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Do you normally hold them all open when you get them every time you get them, or do you have an open house system, or do you guys just kind of throw it together whenever it works? Or
We have developed a system over the past year. We list on Fridays, of course, if the seller's okay with it. And then we hold open Saturday and Sunday because obviously we want to pick up the buyer leads and we know it'll probably sell, that weekend. So that's proven to be very successful for us.
Great. Okay. So, and that is one of the things that we're kind of talking about today. In fact, that's the layer I put in here is what is the system for doing it versus just doing it? And how far out does that system go? What do you start doing the week before to prepare for that open house? Like you put them on Friday and have them open Saturday and Sunday. Just for anybody listening, my system was, and again, this was a different market when they're selling this fast. Even selling this fast though, a house is going to be under contract for 60 days, 45 to 60 days before it closes. I'll tell you, one of our systems is that I can do. I don't know if we can do it in our market, so I have to always be careful when I'm sharing stuff. So this is Kansas City proper. We have a backup status in our MLS. I don't know if you guys have something like that if you get an accepted offer, you can keep marketing it for a second offer or a backup offer, right?
Yes.
So if that backup status is there, whether or not the market uses it or not, it's there for a reason, and MLS has it. I use it on every single listing. It's the form that's in my listing packet that they sign that they want backup offers, because it just gives us leverage as their agent to have somebody else who really wants that house really bad. So here's why I said that is that if a house goes under contract, my plan, the open house starts a week before. And it starts on Monday, so I can get 10 signs up everywhere. I put them on every busy street, every corner, everything. And as we're talking about open houses, we'll talk about all this stuff that we're going through. And the purpose is, and this is kind of the filter that I put on top of an open house system. The purpose is if I'm going to go there for 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours on a Saturday and a Sunday, and I even say, Amber, for my team, if my team members are going to take 3 to 4 hours out of their Saturday or Sunday away from their family, man, I want to get them the most people possible through that open house, the biggest opportunity to catch the most amount of buyers and sell properties from being invested in at 3 or 4 hours. Now, I can say there could be a lot of people in the industry. It's just like, hey, I need a body there. Just they're throwing somebody out there and there's no marketing going on to even get anybody to the open house. But they need a body there because they think sellers want open houses. And actually, that's a whole nother side story. I probably talk sellers out of open houses unless we're looking for buyers. Very seldom do you sell your own listing at the open house. And I share that with the seller all the time. It's like, now, what are the things that you think work sell house? Oh, open houses. Okay, great. So how many houses have you gone to an open house and you bought that house? Oh, well, we've never done that. I mean, we go look at them. We get decorating ideas. Okay, they just set themselves up for my reason to not do one. However, I'll go ahead and share this script out because I think it's good. In that listing presentation, I'll say, so I've done thousands of open houses over 30 years. And in that time, I've sold one house at the actual open house I was sitting. The person that walked in bought the house. It happened one time out of thousands of open houses. So what I would tell a seller, and this will back up why we're talking about this, I would tell a seller is like, your house probably isn't going to sell at the open house. So you do not have to kick yourself out of your house for 2, 3, or 4 hours on the weekend to go find something to do an open house. Now, what I have to be careful of is, and this again, here's the other thing, as you're doing things, track results, track results. So one of the things I tracked in results was I would say that, and if I lost a listing and I called them back and found out why I lost it, and they said, well, the other agent said they do open houses every time they list a property, and we really wanted an open house. So I tweaked my presentation a little bit to then say, however, we will do an open house as often as you want one. If you want to kick yourself out of your house and go somewhere for 3 or 4 hours, we have a full-blown system that we start a week in advance to make sure we get the most people through your open house. See, now anybody else wouldn't say that. That's a value proposition that my competitors won't say, is they have a whole program or plan. They just say, yeah, we'll do an open house. No, we have a whole program that we put into place to get the most people through your house and have the best opportunity to sell your house. When in actuality, open houses, I just told you, have sold one at the actual open house that we were sitting in. So in actuality, the open house is more of a plan for us to get buyers, right? So we're going to pick up some buyers for that. And we'll talk a lot about that in today's content. So in that conversation, I say, now, if you're gone for a weekend and you really believe in open houses and you really want us to do one, we'll definitely, I'll schedule it when you're out of town because that's the most convenient for you. And by the way, you know, with the thing I told you earlier about maybe one house in 30 years of sold at an open house that I know of, we still pick up buyers from that. So I have a whole follow-up program to stay in touch with all those buyers, to take them through the pre-approval process, get them approved. And even though they may not have bought your house at that open house, we'll be showing them a couple other properties and I've got them. So I've nabbed all these buyers out of the marketplace that I'm holding on to and showing houses so that if they don't find something else and they bring your house back up, I get to bring them right back to you. So that's another reason why we do it. That's if I'm like selling open houses. So it's about putting that story and that value behind that. Anything to add to that or anything that you say, anyone?
Brad, I will say this past year, our team has probably sold 4 houses to a buyer that came to the open house. Yep. I think this just is a very different market, and people are showing up quickly and don't have an agent. So that has been actually really successful for our team this year. And, you know, the past 6 years, it was exactly like you said, but this year, for some reason, it's been different.
I am so glad you said that because I did want everybody to know in this market, you probably have the best opportunity to sell your house at the open house. So again, what we're looking at here is the benefits are right now. I would tell the seller, yeah, I mean, if you really do have somewhere to go, we are finding some success in open house because of the shortage of the market, right? And because you do it on Friday and then list them Saturday and Sunday, I can see why you're having better success in that. That would not be as successful with me starting it on Monday and waiting a week, because anybody who was looking for that house that would have fell in love with it and written an offer would have already seen it on MLS. So that program works much better. So yeah, I think it's awesome to see 2 different angles of this. And the big thing that I wanted to make sure we covered here is what's the benefit to the seller for doing it? Don't just do an open house because they ask for one. I mean, what are you going to do to make that the most successful house ever? And if you do some of the things that we talk about today, you pick up a couple of things to enhance your system, then make sure you're bringing that up as a value proposition to the seller. Like for one of the things in here we'll talk about is calling around to invite to the open house and marketing for the open house. If you do that, tell them, say, we don't just do an open house. I mean, we actually have a day before you go live, we're calling around the neighborhood, inviting, all the different things that you're going to do during this process. So the real benefits of the open house, though, a lot of times when we're talking, well, it doesn't even matter if you're new or experienced. It costs nothing to do an open house. It's just time, right? And it's time being in the industry, seeing buyers out there in the community, and you're in listings and you're out there doing real estate on the weekend. So people are out running around going through open houses. It costs, you're not buying a lead when you do an open house. You're getting buyers that are looking. I do like to emphasize that even though the buyers are coming through the open house, now this market is a little different with the shortage of homes. There's a little bit of an urgency. However, even in this market, you could get 20 buyers through the house, right? And you're going to get in front of 20 buyers. And what I don't want you to lose sight of, like the whole message that's been themed through the whole Ignite, is that everybody's moving, right? If 100 people come through your open house and you get 2 or 3 people that actually you can grab somehow, you got their information and they're gonna let you send them properties and start helping them, there's 97 other people that came through that open house that are moving sometime in the next from now until the next 5 to 7 years. So keep in mind that it's expensive. It's an inexpensive way to funnel a lot of people to your database at once. And the weird part is just like internet sites and sign calls and some of that stuff. We've talked about this in some previous classes, that buyers that come through the internet, even buyers that come through open houses, many times they don't know anything about the house when they pull up. They don't know what price range it is. They don't know if it's what they're looking for, their dream home, blah, blah, blah. So know that they could just be starting the process. And a lot of these things, from internet leads to open houses to all that stuff, if there were 100 buyers that came through your house, 2 or 3 of them are probably moving right now. And that's probably a pretty good read. If you get 20, 30 people through and you get 1 or 2 buyers working with you, you can see how the percentage always comes back to around 1, 2, 3% conversion. However, the 97%, 98% that you didn't get, they are moving, but they might be 3 to 4 to 6 months from being a buyer. In fact, you can track this just by asking one simple question at the next several open houses you do. And just ask everybody, say, where are you in the process? Have you gotten pre-approved yet? And if you have 20 people through your open house, I would bet from experience that 15 of them haven't gotten pre-approved yet. Maybe 17 of them haven't got pre-approved yet. So that just tells us that these things are great to get buyers and pull them off the market before they get found by somebody else. And most of the time, coming through an open house is their first time they're raising their hand to tell people that they're thinking about buying. And the sooner you can grab those people, because see, they're gone in a minute. If they come through our open house, we're probably capturing their information, putting them on our drip plan, and no other realtor will have a shot at working with them. Even now in my world, the database world of the 97% that we drip on, we want 100% conversion of everyone that came through our open house. And we're going to track it for the next 5 to 7 years. Because the statistics that I've seen on these numbers is when you meet people who are thinking about buying either internet lead or open house leads and all that stuff, somebody did an actual study on this. It was somebody at Century 21, and I don't even remember what conference it was at, but they posted the results of the numbers. And it was like 1 or 2% were moving like right when you first meet them. And that's pretty normal statistic. Any marketing you do at a mass level, if you're marketing to a neighborhood of 250 homes, most agents will get 2, 3, 4 listings in that neighborhood over a long period of time. Or if I called through a neighborhood of 100, if you do bold, and I don't know if everybody's familiar with bold, but if I do a bold 100, I'll usually pick up 1 or 2 appointments if I call 100 people, if I get into 100 conversations. So knowing that if we get them captured and into the funnel and into, say, command, and they go on a smart plan that allows us to stay in touch with them, we'll eventually convert them all. So in this study, it was something like 1 or 2%, maybe at the most 3% were moving like right now. If you went down about 6 months, there's probably about 5 or 10%, or I think it was like 7% are moving within a 6-month period. They went down a year, and if you took that same group of people from the original number you've got about 20% of them are moving after 1 year. And every time they were showing these numbers, I'm just like, it's exactly what we've been talking about. If they're moving every 5 to 10 years and it's 100 people, then, and you take up every 5 years, that's 20 people are moving in the next 12 months, or 10 people moving in the next 12 months if the market's slow and they're staying in their house 10 years. So if you can follow those numbers, if you stay in touch with them for, I think it was like a year and a half to 3 years, you'll actually have converted somewhere around 60%, 66% was the number that I saw. So eventually you're going to get to 100% conversion by staying in touch with them for the full 10 years. So think of an open house opportunity not as excited to get 2 or 3 buyers. You just added 50 or 60 sales over the next 5 years. So now if you do 10 open houses this year and you pick up 50 buyers for every, well, let's just say a typical, I don't know, maybe Amber, you could throw in how many people are coming through your open houses today? Do you have an average number, or is it all over the board?
It's pretty all over the board. I will say with us listing on Friday, the traffic has been really high. A lot of those people coming through either are with their realtor or do have realtors. So
Yeah.
that's a little bit different, but I would say we're probably picking up, 5 buyers at each house that don't have a realtor, if I had to put a number on it.
Yep. And then how many are coming through? Probably 20 or 30.
Yeah.
Yeah. So out of 20 or 30, you're getting 5. That's a really good number. I would guess about 3 or 4, 2 or 3, something like that. So that's a really good number. Allison, have you done any open houses or anything? Or are you thinking about doing open houses? Are you in a place where you can chat?
I've done some relatively recently. I don't have any listings right now, and my last listing sold before I did any open houses because I was out of the country. But when I did on the other open house, I did 2 or 3 open houses on that one, and I got maybe 2 or 3 shoppers each time.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lot, but I think it depends on where it is. When I've done them in Manhattan, I've gotten a lot more, as much as like 10 different families come through. But that was before I deployed, so that was a long time ago at this point. Because everything I've done since then have been in Junction City or elsewhere.
Yeah. And do you do, and just for curiosity, as it might go along with some of the stuff that we're sharing and hoping to give you some ideas that you can enhance and get more traffic and get your numbers up, what kind of prep did you have before the open house? Is it pretty much just deciding to do it a day or two before and doing it, or do you do anything for marketing prior to the open house?
So before, when I was on the team, they would do the marketing stuff for me. Sometimes I'd door knock around the neighborhood. It really depends on how much prep time. And the last house I did too, it was in a weird location, so there wasn't a lot of neighbors because it was actually across the street from a grocery store.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a lot of neighbors to really get people to come through that way. And there was a church next door too. Which my original plan was to do it on like Sunday as church was getting out, but it didn't work for the seller. So.
Yep. Okay. No, no, that's great.
It depends on kind of how far it's planned out, but I like the idea of door knocking in advance and talking to people, because that definitely brings more people in.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of the thing that I hope you kind of take away from this, is that what is the way to get the absolute most people through possible? So if we're going to do it and we get some good success from it and a few people, is there something else we could have done to get a few more people and a few more people? Because as we're seeing across the board, however many people come through, you're going to convert a little percentage of that into some active buyers, 5 for 20 for Amber, right? So now if I figured out how to enhance that to get 30 or 40 or 50 people through, then I'm going to increase to maybe get 10 buyers. Now we're getting like unbelievable ROI for our time invested. And if it is a team member that's doing the open house for you, you're bringing so much value to that person. Like they're begging to be in open houses. where there are so many teams that they just throw somebody in, they need a body there because they make promises to do open houses because they think everybody just wants them. And nobody really explained the benefits of it, if it was worth doing, if it's in a weird location, those kind of things. I mean, and sometimes the sellers, I've actually heard sellers like, oh God, it was so crazy going to we're taking our kids out into the grocery store, they got crazy and all that stuff. So for that very little chance you'd sell the property, even though today that number's up. So I definitely would lay a little low on, we've only sold one house, or now you could say we've sold 4 houses at open houses just recently. So that number has changed. I might be pushing for open houses more because it's free. It doesn't cost anything, right? So when you're looking at the open house prospecting model, like you were just talking about, doing some door knocking and things like that, we'll all share a couple ideas that we do to prepare for the open house. I'll kick it off with one, and then you guys kind of share anything that you do. But one of the things that I found from open houses is that they would come in, a lot of people might come in not knowing what was there and say, oh, this is a little bit out of our price range. So part of my preparation before I ever go to an open house is to pull up a list of the price range below, well, the price range at the open house, whatever that price range is. I might go 30 to 50,000 on each side and print out just a 1-line MLS list of addresses. And they're not long now, right? But then I'd also go 100,000 below and 100,000 above and print 3 different pages. That way, just in case somebody came in and I was getting into conversation, it's like, so what'd you think of it? It's like, well, it's a little more than what we wanted to spend. Oh, well, I got a list of 3 others that just came on the market today that are in the next price range down. How soon are you guys looking to buy, right? It just starts the conversation. Have you been pre-approved? I get done here at 2 o'clock. I could show you some of these properties, especially if they're approved. I'm going to qualify them first. Or between now and in an hour when my open house is open, my lender has an online application. Go ahead and fill that out. And if part of my system, my LO better be available and know that I'm doing an open house and I'm sending people to his app, like he'll get you approved right there within a few minutes. He's already waiting for the app to come in. So just fill that out real quick and see what you qualify for. And if that's the case, we can go look at those houses even today, as early as today. So I'm still qualifying them. So my prep was putting the signs up a week in advance in the old market. I would put up as many signs as possible the second I knew I was going to have the open house, the minute it went live on Friday morning, if that's the case, to drive as much traffic there as possible from every busy street all the way to it. And then those lines. Anything else you guys do to prep for them?
I usually
say,
oh,
no, go ahead, Allison.
I was gonna say usually I market on Facebook and social media in advance. But one problem I've been having this year is because in the old bold, what they would teach is, you do start Monday and get through the whole week. But a lot of problems I've been running into is anything that I've gotten permission to open a house on goes under contract before I get a chance to do it. So usually I start on Wednesday doing advertisement for it.
Now, do you have a way to, I'm just curious, do you have a way to track from the ad how many people came? Do you like ask them how they heard about the open house, and have you tracked those numbers to know how effective it is?
I haven't done that because this is also when I was on the team, but now I can track it more for myself because I have access to the page, like my personal page or my business page. But that's a good idea. So I'm gonna write that down.
That way, that way you can start tweaking what's working in the ad to get the people there versus just doing anything to just do it, right? And you might be able to even, I know somebody had mentioned once that they didn't give the address out because for security reasons. So they would have them contact them or text them or fill in a form to get the address. And then you'd have a registration to capture their information, right? And you'd have that. So again, just start tracking that to see how well it's working, how many people saw it versus how many people actually said they saw it and came to the open house could be a big difference. It's kind of like realtor.com. 30,000 times your house came across the search engine means it was on their screen in the search, and 2,000 times somebody actually saw it and clicked on it, and 200 times somebody actually looked through the details. So it's just tracking what's really working. What were you going to say, Amber?
Sorry, had to get unmuted. I feel like most of our sharing and promoting is on social media, boosting the post. Obviously with Listing Friday, we don't have a ton of time to prepare. We do, start working throughout the week. Like we line up the professional photographer, and then we have all of our marketing ready. So that way come Friday, it can all just be blasted out. So that's our biggest thing. I will say at the open houses, we use little clipboards when people come in with a questionnaire, and we do ask how they heard about the open house so that we can kind of track it. We're kind of playing around with QR codes. We're doing a lot more with those. We haven't had any opens where we've got to try them out. So I'll be curious to see if we get more responses on the clipboards or the QR codes, or maybe use both.
Man, you just made my marketing brain go crazy. Like, because when I think of QR codes, it's like, how often do they really work? They're starting to work more now that our cameras go directly to things.
Yeah.
What if you plastered the local breakfast restaurants around the open house, and they would let you put a card with a QR code and it said open house, and this is around the neighborhood? Man, that would be unbelievable, right? You're eating breakfast, you're like, oh, look, honey, open house, and it shows the map and how to get there. It opens up in 1 hour.
That'd be fun.
That'd be kind of fun. I'm just kind of thinking out loud, right? That'd be a good prep deal. And you'd be benefiting the restaurant, and by going in and maybe you feature them as one of the local restaurants in your blog. And by doing that, you ask, hey, by the way, do you mind if we throw these down if we're doing an open house around the area? People love your restaurant. They might want to live right close by, and you get a customer. So I always talk in terms of benefits to them, right? They would definitely benefit in a customer more often that loves their restaurant if they put this card on their table. And then prospecting too, go prospecting around. So I love, Allison, that you shared about door knocking, because it's whether it's calls, whether it's door knocking, whether it's any of that stuff. I mean, obviously we'll throw the disclaimer up here about the do not call list. But somewhere in that process, if it is going by and knocking on doors, the mindset to think, how do I skew this in my favor to get more people than if I don't do something? Like, what could I do to get even more people through? If we're already going to take the time to be there, we might as well capture every single buyer that we can possibly capture, because we're there anyway, right? So like in prospecting, I know NAR has put out statistics before, and we've shared it in a few of the other Ignite classes, that people typically move within 5 miles of where they currently live, and they typically move about 50% up from where they're living. And I think so 5 miles from where they live means the kids must be in elementary school, like we're probably talking more families, things like that, or maybe it's close to work. Most people move within 5 miles where they currently live. And then what they do is, if they live in a $200,000 house, they're usually buying a $300,000 house, just roughly, right? So if I'm doing an open house for a $400,000 home, then I want to look at the neighborhoods within 5 miles. Now, here's really detailed, like prospecting. I could go for sales from 5 to 10 years ago, 5 miles of this new listing that are in the 200 to 300, 325 range, right? I'm about to hold open a $400,000 house. Those people become my target list, that if I were going to increase my odds to sell my listing at my open house, that would be the best way to do it, right? Versus just throwing a sign up on Sunday and seeing how many people come through. So those people will typically move within that area. And if you're sending them a special invite, maybe even a preview, and they're thinking about moving now. Now, the odds that you doing that and they walk in and buy the house are still pretty slim. But what's not slim is that when you capture them, you're going to be putting them in your funnel, and you're going to stay in touch with them, because they are going to be now a listing probably way earlier than they would have been if you hadn't planted the seed that they've been in their house for 5 years. And now they realize, oh my gosh, we've been here forever. We got stuff to fix around here. Maybe we should sell if that house is 400,000, right? So again, it's just about being on purpose on that. So yeah, just like starting that Monday through Saturday, and obviously the times are a little bit different and things move faster. I will tell you that part of the prep might be, Allison, you don't have any listings right now. Sometimes we don't even think about the fact that even if you list a lot, if your listing inventory is low, or your listings are in obscure places, cherry pick the price range in the area you want more listings in. And this could even be for someone like Allison selling, or Amber selling a bunch of houses. You might want to be in another price range or an area. So you start targeting some of the agents and going, hey, if you get any listings in this area, my team would love to hold it open. We have a full-blown system. It'll blow your seller's socks off with the traffic we get, because we have a whole thing that we usually get about 20, 30 people through, and you're going to pick up 3 buyers. So it doesn't matter where we do the open house. You can start targeting other areas, helping somebody else that has a listing while you're doing your system and meeting those buyers. If that makes sense. Anything to add on any of that from anyone?
So when you ask people where they found out about the open house, what do they usually say? Because usually people I talk to just say, oh, we were just driving by or happened to be, nobody even found out from any marketing or anything like that.
Yeah, well, so I did do that. I've done that specifically because I found out a lot of the marketing we were doing wasn't really generating a traffic, and especially if it was something we were paying for. So, you know, a lot of times I just go for massive exposure. I'll even do as much as Google free open house listing. I mean, first of all, we put it in the MLS, so that feeds it out to like realtor.com and some of that other stuff. But then I always go to Google and do free open house listing, and there'll be 20 more obscure websites that allow you to list your open house there. I'm going for as much exposure as possible. And then, so that one might be harder to track if they say we saw it online and came, but if they're literally telling you we were just driving by, then that might tell you that your signs are good, or if you'd like to get more traffic. So if you want to pick those numbers up to 30 or 40 people coming through your open houses, that might be the exact reason to put 2 out on the busy corner street, put 1, you know, on all entrances into the neighborhood. So if everybody's telling me signs, then I'm going to boost my signs up and do more and see if I get more traffic. That's exactly what the tracking is all about. And Facebook doesn't really doesn't cost you anything to post something about the house. However, if I'm thinking in terms of how do I get more exposure and get more people through if I'm already going to be there, then I start playing around with the ad, or I start, you know, asking agents, who's doing open houses and what are you doing for your social media and how many people are you getting through? Right, what we're doing today, right? I've enhanced a lot of things I've ever done in marketing just from doing training in class. So it will allow you to figure out that maybe there's something else you can add in there. It could be a QR code picture in your Facebook ad that they scan, which means you capture their information and you get more people there because they did that. I don't know. So that's what the tracking would do, is help you get more people through so you can always keep getting 20, 30, 40, 50 people through. We know that the bigger the number is, the more people are going to convert, and it makes your time more worthwhile. Anything to add on that, on tracking, that you've learned from anything that you've done, Amber?
I feel like with the clipboards, we asked that question on there. Everyone does answer, and a lot of them do say social media. Zillow's obviously usually a big one. We'll get a couple that say drive by, but I feel like social media is a big one on that questionnaire.
Now, if you wanted to drill that down, you could have 1 extra form on there. So when it says social media, just have 1 more line that says, do you remember the specific site you saw it on?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, if you do a lot of social media, and if I were tracking that down. So again, that's just, it's back to what business people do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fortune 500 companies don't just sit in a boardroom and go, just try it all and keep going, you know, let's just keep going. They want to, they're tracking statistics and how much did it cost and how much time, like even time. The time it took to post an ad, to type something up and put it in, was time you could have been doing something else. So you do want to track stuff as a good business owner. All right, we already kind of talked about this stuff, the location, time, traffic patterns. I mean, I'll tell you about time. Back in the day, before I had more business than I could handle and I needed my business to grow and I was doing all the lead generation activities, I did open houses on Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I know, again, we got a shortage of homes, but I love what you said, Amber, about Saturday and Sunday. It's just an automatic. You might as well grab as many buyers as you can off that listing while you have it It's called leverage, right? So we drive and control the market with listings. And if you get through the effort of getting a listing, how do I get the most bang for my return on my buck for that time I put into getting the listing? And that is by doing the open houses and getting 3 buyers from every open house you list, or from every house that you list. So now you can look at your business and go, wow, if I need 10 closings next month to do something big, for take a trip or do something, then I know I could list 3 houses, hold 3 open houses, and get 9 more buyers, and we would have 12 or 11 listings and buyers, and we'll probably close 8 of those, you know. So you can start doing predictable business stuff when you know what your statistics are. As far as traffic patterns, that's the one where I said kind of pick your location based on an area you might want to be getting into and going with. This is another way we did it, like in Command with Smart Plans. Whether it's a different database that you use or Command, those campaigns and action plans, from the minute we list a house, we can start the open house plan. If they agree to the open house or what to do one, our open house plan starts in effect like right when it needs to, like a week before the open house. Because even following the open house, there's some things that happen after the open house too, that we do around the neighborhood or the follow-up and things like that. So, and then we just talked about the social media platforms, just track the ads, because there's a lot of people that pay for advertising on social media, not just a free post, but they pay for advertising to put it in a banner. So if you've got that dollar going out, the Keller Williams way of doing things, and what Gary just teaches us over and over and over again, is get a return on your dollar. Because most of the advertising, and I'll go old school but bring it new school, old school newspaper advertising in the old school world of real estate, when we ran actual paper ads in a newspaper for our listings, here's what the industry told you: well, it's going to cost $1 and you're going to get 40 cents back. So meaning I might pay $50 for an ad and I wouldn't get any buyers off of it, or I'd get 1 buyer after I did this for the whole year. It was like getting 40 cents on your dollar. And people would do it, but it's advertising. It gets your name in front of people, get you exposure. Same thing with social media. We could be paying for banner ads, even though now their numbers look good, to say, we're going to get you exposed to 10,000 people. You can actually, through the banner ad, pick how many people you want to see it, right? But if I spent $50 on that ad, how much did I get from the ad? Like that ad drove that person to a property or got them to me. I picked them up as a buyer and I sold them a house. So if my $50 generated a $5,000 commission check, that is 100 times return on my money. I'm gonna probably do that one again. But if I have to run ads and I don't really track if I'm getting any business because of the ad, then I'm really just wasting $50 that I could have put somewhere else and got a 5 to 10 times return. So everything we look at, we're looking for a 5 or 10 times return versus just get our money back, if that makes sense. So in Command, you got the campaigns that you can actually automate that whole process. And as far as like prospecting at the open house and the relationships that you're building with people, I mean, obviously building rapport with people when they walk in. And I don't know if any of you, either one of you, want to share what you might do to build rapport. I know when they come in, I try to give them their space, let them feel like I'm not going to like hover over them and make them fill out a form right away. I make them feel comfortable and let them go ahead and walk through. I'll check in on you. I'd love to get your feedback. And so when we get that conversation somewhere in there, like on mine, I have a cardstock card that I have them, I just hand them with a pen. Because if you stick it out, they pretty much take it. And it's just a little card and it says name, address, phone number, and then email is kind of small underneath phone number, because I don't care about getting their email. I want their address and their phone number so that when they walk out the door, I can turn that card around and make a note about who was here. It was the lady and her daughter, just starting the process, blah, blah, blah. So I can write them a note. And I actually had the notes with me at the open house. So the build rapport, everybody's going to do that differently based on your personality. But the qualifying leads part and providing value, I kind of find that with that list of houses in the price range that it's in or the price range above and below. So how I can get to qualifying them is by saying, was this a house that you could see yourself buying? Yeah, I mean, they're always going to tell you it's nice. They don't want to hurt the seller's feeling, even though you're not even the seller. It was okay or whatever they say. But they say, you know, not quite what I was looking for. Well, I got a list of the other houses that are in this same price range. Is this the price range you're looking at? And they'll, well, yeah, it's about the price range. So have you started the pre-approval process? What's your time frame? You know, how soon are you guys wanting to move? So that actually gets me into this qualifying the lead to find out if they're even approved yet, to get them approved, et cetera, et cetera. And then that could lead to going to see the other houses in one of the other ranges. Does that make sense? Anybody do anything cool you do to either build rapport or get them qualified or provide value to them? Anything stand out?
We still do the old fashioned thank you cards the next day. I've just had several success stories with people that have held on to them and thank you. And called me, you know, 2 years later because they really liked that.
Yeah. Yeah. One reason why I said something about making a note on the back is because a lot of times if they're filling out their information so you can send the card, if it was the ladies were out because there was a football game on or something like that, right? Sports team, they would put their husband's name down because that's just what they're used to doing. And I found myself maybe writing a note to Mike and Linda, and it was like Mike wasn't even there. So I started keeping a note. It was like the mother, her daughter, and her daughter, that daughter's daughter, right? So there's 3 generations. And so my card might say something like, it's so great to see your family, all the ladies out having a ladies' day. Thanks for stopping by the open house. We appreciated your feedback and look forward to helping you take advantage of the market when you're ready. Something like that. So my notes, like, don't ever have I, me, or my in them. I try not to throw the business card in there on the first one. I just let it be that kind of over to get us into, to keep me out of the salesperson zone so that when my action plan and campaign comes up to call her again in 4 weeks, because she'd go on an 8x8 after the open house. I got her address, got her phone number. We connected enough. I had notes on the back. So anybody I connect with, I put on an 8x8, which the first step is the note. And then there's a call 4 weeks later. But that note, the way I just explained it, just real casual, gets her to possibly answer the number because she knows now it's not just about real estate every time I call. And my next call might just be, hey, I was just getting ready to do another open house and I just remembered you, your mom, and your daughter came through, because it's all right there in my database, right? You and your mom and your daughter came through that open house a couple of weeks ago, and that was so fun. Just, I loved your guys' energy, and oh, thank you. No, I was just thinking of you, and you know, if you have any questions when you get ready for the process, well, we did call your lender, so we're starting that process. I'm like, oh, okay. Or they may not either, but it's like, yeah, thank you. No, we really appreciate the information. I got them. I mean, those buyers are mine when they get ready to do something pretty much most of the time. So the other thing I was talking about when you were talking about capturing the lead, whether it's on the form or the card or whatever, a lot of people can even use like iPads and things like that. So just think about in your prep. Some people may not want to do stuff digitally. So have the hard copies with you, but the digital is another way that you can do it right on their phone or have an iPad sitting there that they can sign in on. Either way, you want to capture as many of those and get them into your database, because you can create and this might even work on your Facebook post before the open house. You can create a neighborhood landing page for them to fill their stuff in and register for the open house to get the address or something like that. But either way, even on our apps, if you have them do it on the app, you could have our consumer app pulled up or have them download it while you're at your open house. That would be bringing value. It's like, hey, if this isn't what you're looking for, I have a free app that you can actually draw the line around the area you're looking at. It will show you everything for sale within that area. That's when you can put them on the neighborhood search that's telling them what their house is worth. And that was one of the questions I had on my card. It was like, are you buying in the next 0 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months, 6 months to a year, 1 to 2 years, or later or 2 years plus or something. And then the only other thing we asked was, do you own your home or rent? And we did check boxes so that once we got them to do their address and phone number, they just checked a couple of boxes and we got them to fill that out most of the time. Knowing that we have a follow-up plan, I really didn't ask for much more than that. because we're going to call them again in 4 weeks and 8 weeks anyway, just because of the 8x8. But there's some really cool stuff in Command that you can do. And not to blow over this stuff quickly, but because it's not stuff we normally think of when we're doing an open house, but you got to think of safety stuff. Where are you parking on the street? What's your escape route? Go meet some of the neighbors so they've seen you and they know you were there, and let them know you're doing the open house and you're inviting them over, but at least there's somebody there that's seen you. And that last one there, or second to last one, let someone know you are there and when you'll be done. Some of my girls, when they would do open houses, when I had my team, is they would actually, if somebody came in, I mean, if there's 20 people coming in, it's still different. But if there was like a few people coming through at a time, they would actually have my number on their phone ready to go. And if somebody came in, they just hit dial and it would call me. So at least they've got me on phone. If something did happen, we could have an emergency, or they called their husbands or whatever it was. But really just think about all that stuff. I mean, even when you're showing a house, going in a house and locking the door behind you, even making sure you take the key out and take it in with you. But are you even, if it's a combo, are you shutting the combo box and spinning the dial? Because if you go in, leave the door open or the lockbox open, go in, lock the door, somebody can still come see what the combo is and get in later. So just think about all that stuff when you're doing it. But this is a big thing. Follow up and convert is about capturing every single person. If I hoped you took something away from the from this open house class, is like every single person that came through that open house is actually buying a house. Just most of them aren't buying for another 4 to 6 months. And if you can keep in touch with every single person that came through the open house, you can go from having 3, 4, or 5 sales from it to having 10, 20 sales from every open house you do. It's just that it's a delay. So it's hard to visualize that, like, a sale that far down. And if I'm going to do 2 or 3 more open houses in the next week and I'm capturing 15 more that's not doing anything, within 1 month of 4 open houses, I could have 60 people that aren't buying right now that are going to buy. So you got to capture them in something like Command that has that cultivation drip plan to stay in front of them. And it doesn't have to always be phone calls in those drip plans. It could just be an all email drip plan, because 15 of those people you probably didn't connect with real well, but you want to send neighborhood information or send them a reason to download your app. They've been out looking at an open house. Who better to send a text to say, free house search app, thanks for coming for the open house. If you'd like to find out more houses for sale in the area or the next open house, download my free app and use that. Great map features, whatever it might be, and they'll probably do it. All right, if you guys have anything to add on best practices, is there anything crazy fun that you've ever done at open houses, like speakers? Do you give stuff away? Presentations, like, I don't know, Home Depot, like one of those Home Depot classes. You guys do anything at your open houses, or ever have done anything at open houses?
We have, we did give away a Chief shirt one time. We do some gift card drawings sometimes. We had one on Halloween weekend, and so it was come wearing a costume and get a prize or something. So I do like the creative part of it. I think it adds a little bit something different.
That's an awesome idea. I like that. I like that. The Halloween one, I didn't think about that either. That's cool. Anybody else have anything?
Just food.
What's that, Allison?
Just food.
Food.
But I swear, every time I do a lot of food, nobody comes. Whenever I don't do a lot of food, a lot of people come.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's again, so now start thinking of every time you do an open house, just add to the system, add to take 1 or 2 things from this. And if you come back through Ignite again, take 1 or 2 things and keep doing that until you pretty much have somebody every time you do it, right? And then track, here we go. Track the food. Yeah, track the food. Like, try different things and see who grabs, what they grab and what they grab more of. And maybe even track it all the way down to, it was those donuts. I get more buyers when I sell. Buyers just buy that house when I have those donuts in the house. We're always going to do those donuts. Sometimes tracking can get a little bit crazy. Best practices on hosting, obviously welcome the visitors, get the house in showing shape. Oh, that's a good one there. Just showing up a few minutes early, and and really making sure there's nothing sitting out like toothbrushes and things like that. Pretty much every time a seller comes home and says, hey, where's all my stuff? That's a good thing. It's in the cabinet or the closet closest to where it was. Tissue boxes and things like that. Now, the other thing about this in showing shape, you can really take it to an extreme level and think like a Ritz-Carlton or something. Have you ever thought about just going in the bathrooms and tucking the toilet paper under and making the point like they have at Ritz-Carlton? If there's music and if there's radios in different rooms, turning them on really just soft on some jazz or something like that, some mutual music. What are you doing to make the experience, the open house experience, awesome, just to take it up a notch and help them remember that house? Obviously, don't leave valuables out. And the messy meals, yeah, just like a lot of people just have like McDonald's wrappers and Cokes. And I mean, you want to be as professional as possible, and then don't make assumptions. So anyway, anything else to add on do's and don'ts that might not have been on that list? Anything that stands out like, oh man, I always do this, or I never thought about doing this? This is like a success kit here, bringing extra phones, measuring tape. That was one that I hadn't seen until I saw it in a class once. So somebody might come into the open house and have they ever tried to see where their furniture will fit? You know, so you can actually have a tape measure to measure off the room for them, something like that. But
And
yeah,
you know that if they're measuring, they're buying it.
exactly. That's why I was saying I never had a tape measure at my open houses forever. I never thought about that. Now
Yeah, that's a good idea.
yeah, just one little thing like that. Yep. Air fresheners, obviously, I have just heard not to get any strong ones because when you're this, like you're trying to hide something. Oh, even more so now, disinfectant wipes, having those set out on the counter with the squirters. Just if you have the squirt bottles and you have an old one, squirt it once before you do it. I walked into our Keller Williams office in the Lee Summit area. They have a big bottle sitting right by the front door. I squirted on the tie top table. It shoots me right in the head because it's all gobbed up. So just make sure they're going to get it in their hand if you do it. This is probably the biggest thing I want you to take away from the open house or open house stuff is what is the follow-up, and not just the follow-up with the ones you converted, but the follow-up with every single person that came through. Guys, that one thing right there, if you can turn your 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people into 10 people, you can double your business from something you've already been doing, and you're just taking it one notch further, that we're going to capture everybody, get all those people on a follow-up plan. And here's where it really gets crazy is if you have them tagged in there by the price range of house of the open house they came through. Now, when you get your next listing 3 months later in that price range, you would have a tag for that. For there's going to be probably 60 people in there under a certain price range that you can do some pre-marketing to, and or taking it even before the open house. If you're going on a listing appointment, you could go into your database, and if you're getting 20 people from every open house in your system and you've tagged them for that price range, you can go to a listing appointment and print right out a command. Here's the people that have been through open houses in the last 30 or 60 days, whatever time frame you have, that were in the price range. They came through a house in the price range you're in. What I can absolutely guarantee you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, 60 homes did not come on the market since I met them at the open house, and they are waiting for another house like yours to come on the market. So that would be another reason to do an open house. So it's always like, get the most you can out of everything you're doing, and every single person is moving. It's just only 1 to 2% of them are moving right now to today. The other 97, 98% are moving sometime in the next month, the month after, 3 months later, 6 years later, 10 years later. So that kind of recaps it. I'll put if you guys don't mind doing this, we love to get your feedback on the class. Just if you got any good ideas or little tidbits that you picked up on. I'm going to put this in the chat box. And what you'll do is just click on this, and it will open up another window so that once we're done and closed out, you can just quickly jump on there and fill it out. But Any ahas or anything that you guys want to share from today? What little tidbit that you might have picked up on that you might enhance on your next open house?
Brad, something I do want to add that I definitely make sure I stress with my team, for example, I am all about manifesting and things like that. And I think if you wake up with the right attitude of, yes, I get to hold an open house, I'm going to pick up so many clients, it's a way different outcome than, oh, I have to go do an open house today and waste my time. So I'm all about that.
That slide sure wasn't in there. I'm glad you shared it, because it is. It's just the attitude. Because I mean, really, think about it. How many times have we gotten up and we're going to do an open house? We're like, your open house.
Yeah.
Make the most. If you're already going, unless you can cancel it, make the most of it and get the most people there and capture the most people you can and get the best thing you can out of it. So yeah, that's awesome. All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, I like the idea of not putting the address on for social media and just having them sign up to get the address. Because
Yeah.
it kind of creates that extra step of people that even if they don't show up to the open house, you've got them to reach out to you.
Yeah, check out that neighborhood page on the command or I believe it's the app or something. Just schedule a little time to play around with it, or maybe at your next open house, figure it out and see if you can create that squeeze page or that landing page. That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's great too. I hadn't done that before. All right, great session. Now it's the weekend. Everybody have fun. We'll see you on Monday. Thanks for showing up.
Thank you.